All right, how's it going, guys? What I want to talk about today is how to build better deltoids, specifically the rear delt in the back, through better exercise selection. Now, if we look at how most people normally train an exercise for the rear delts, they're going to be doing a rear delt fly normally. The dumbbell variation looking something like this, where they are doing reps straight out to the side and squeezing at the back. And then there's also the pec fly machine version where they would be sitting on the machine and doing the same motion, just seated upright. Now, while this works great for training the muscle short, it's not really that effective at training the muscle long. And to explain what I mean by that, I'm going to use an exercise that more people are likely familiar with. For that, we'll be talking about the standard supinated dumbbell curl. Now we can see right now, my arm is fully extended from the side. The bicep is fully lengthened. Yes, this can be augmented by incline curls, but for this purpose, this is the full stretch lengthened position of the bicep. We then have the mid-range here around 90 degrees, and then we have the end range where the bicep is the shortest up at the top. Now, if we think about the shoulder, we have a deduction, which is the arm coming across towards and through the midline, and abduction, which is where the arm crosses into an extension behind your body. If we once again look at those rear delt flies, we're effectively starting in the mid-range. My arm is not across my body. I'm in that mid-range and I'm going to the shortened range of motion and coming back to an easy mid-range. If we look at current research about muscle growth, we see most often that the full range of motion is most effective at stimulating hypertrophy. And in close second comes focusing on the lengthened end range of motion. Whereas these rear delt flies and the seated rear delt fly primarily work on the mid to short end range of motion. Now, a way to get around this that some people will use are bent over cable rear delt flies. For this version, I'll be showing it just with a band. Now, this can be effective. As you see, when I walk away from the band, my arm is able to pull across my midline more. And so when I go out into the fly, I am having tension and fully crossing the body. What I don't like about these as much is there's a lot of stabilization work going on with the core. And so you can sometimes find yourself making it easier and accidentally cheating it by allowing for some thoracic rotation just to kind of get the weight up. Now, we know when trying to build muscle mass, typically having more stability allows you to focus additionally on the muscle train. That's why some people argue that the Smith machine is better to focus on specific pec fibers versus a free bench press. There's more stability, there's less chance for injury, and you can focus more on hypertrophy. The way that I like to do this is with the Powell raise. Now, the Powell raise recently got a little more popularity because Ben Patrick with Knees Over Toes started talking about it, but the way I do it is a little bit different. He uses the standard Charles Poliquin structural balance 8-rep max style with it. I like to do mine for longer time under tension specific sets, looking for that 60 to even 120 second threshold to fully fatigue my slow twitch muscle fibers. Now, how I'm going to get ready into that position is by laying fully on my side here. I don't have a bench at home, so I'm just using the corner of my deck. You can manage with anything. I'm supporting my head here, but you can also support with your hand if a block isn't available. And I'll be allowing the dumbbell to fully pull my arm into adduction across my body. And then I can fully raise up to the top and lower the weight back down. The straighter my arm is, the longer that moment lever is going to be, and the harder the weight becomes to lift up to the top. Now, the way that I like to use this exercise is, like I mentioned, under continuous time under tension. So I actually like to go from the bottom just shy of that easy holding position up top so that I'm constantly keeping the muscle under a little bit of stress. By doing this, I'm not really allowing for any rest period to happen for the musculature. This also allows me with this style of using a lighter weight for longer duration sets to play around kind of with the workspace that I have here with my shoulder. Maybe I'll do one raise with a little more internal versus external rotation, and maybe sometimes the weight will be raised a little bit higher and other times a little bit lower. I can do pulses at the bottom. I can spend time up at the top. I'm not caring about reps. I'm just caring that the muscle is under tension for the entire duration. What's really nice about this is the risk of injury ends up being lower because you're holding less weight. This is how I think an effective alternative for rear delt training can be. This isn't to say that you should entirely substitute out rear delt flies for it, because as you can see, the shortened position in the Powell raise, there's no load on it, whereas there's the most load on it when doing the bent over rear delt fly variation. So instead of completely scrapping your program and replacing this for your rear delts, I think either including one on one day, one on another day within a cycle, or periodizing it throughout exercise rotations in any given program can be a really effective way to better build up those delts. I hope you guys learned something. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and have a good one.